No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve Postgame Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
There's nothing quite like home cooking, and on the strength of a 5-3 home ice victory, the Winnipeg Jets are halfway home to getting to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Along with Ezra Ginsburg, along with Dave Manouk, high atop the ice surface at Canada Life Center. I am your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss an all-important victory by the Winnipeg Jets. There's Dave proving that he is, in fact, in the arena and that there is still ice on the surface. The Jets game that we said during the Illegal Curve pregame show was the most important game of the season so far, and the Jets respond with an effort commensurate with a game of this magnitude, defeating the St. Louis Blues 5-3. Gentlemen, the word I would use to describe tonight's effort by the Winnipeg Jets is prideful. This was a team that for the last two games and the subsequent days since then has been hearing all the negativity, all the negative Nellies, all the naysayers coming out of the woodwork. Yeah, me, sure, that's fine. I'll say that, Dave. I needed to see a response from the Winnipeg Jets. And tonight, without Mark Scheifele for the final 40 minutes of tonight's game, they demonstrated that they're more than just a weak sister and a paper tiger. They came back, they get the victory 5-3 over St. Louis and demonstrated a whole hell of a lot of pride in their effort tonight. Just a reminder to everybody before I get Dave and Ezzy in here. We have post-game comments coming your way from the Jets players, from both coaches. So stay tuned for post-game media availability. It'll be live here on the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now. But a big victory for the Winnipeg Jets, 5-3. Take a 3-2 series lead back to St. Louis on Friday night now, Ezzy.
Yeah, and as you say, Drew, a huge victory, and especially that second period, right? We're obviously going to get into Mark Scheifele. We're not sure what Scott Arniel is going to tell us about Mark Scheifele after the game. As you said, Drew, we're going to bring it to you live, but, just amazing that the Jets were able to stay composed and have that type of period, right? The shots were something like 14-3 there in the second period. After two periods, the shot attempts were 49-21, right? So obviously keeping the Blues to a very minimum amount of scoring chances. And, Connor Hellebuyck, even though we'll get into the, Jimmy Snuggerud goal in the Play Now game recap, boys, because, he was off his angle, right, Dave? Like, you could tell that after that goal was scored that Hellebuyck knew that he should have had that one, but he comes up huge on the 2-on-1 with just an incredible save. And, that's the type of save that, is going to be shown on highlight reels. So Hellebuyck, even though he allows 3 goals, I thought he had a really good bounce back effort. And, you got some secondary scoring guys, which we've talked about has been, a bugaboo for the Jets so far in this series. But, Vladislav Nemesnikov with Mark Scheifele out of the lineup, he steps up with a goal and an assist. Obviously, the third line gets a goal, the empty net goal. Kyle Connor, I thought, was just brilliant tonight. I thought he was the Jets' best forward, arguably their best player. And, even though Mark Scheifele didn't end up finishing this game, the Jets get the win, and now all of the pressure is on St. Louis going back home. And I think that, we all agree that the Jets want to close out the series. They don't want this series coming back to Winnipeg, Dave. But that's what they needed to get. They needed a win. They needed a complete effort. And even though there were maybe some moments earlier in the third period that you didn't like, they managed to hang on, close it out, go into shutdown mode. I love Dylan Sandberg's game. I realized he coughed up the puck there, which led to a Jake Neighbors chance in the third period.
He got pickpocketed, right?
Well, yeah, but Luke Shen came through, and
yes,
like a good key partner, he comes through with the 2-bad stack, right, Dave? So I thought Sandberg was excellent. Just a great, complete team effort. Drew used the word prideful, which I think is a good word if we're going to each have a word of the day. I just thought, this was a gutsy effort with Scheifele out of the lineup. Gabe Vilardi obviously provides a boost. He doesn't score a goal or, get a power play marker, but, he was impactful, obviously, on the Dylan DeMello goal, causing some chaos in front of the net. And that's what he does best, right, Dave? He's a big body, and he provides that net front presence.
Yeah, you're right, Ezzy. And this was a phenomenal atmosphere. I mean, just fantastic. Credit to Jets fans. And we got Colby, who's going to bring us the post-game media availability straight from the Matt Frost Media Center. But I mean, it was a wild atmosphere. And I, was joking on Twitter and social media. I said, I don't know if the players are ready, but the fans are ready. I can tell you that right now. And just a phenomenal atmosphere. They were going just from the moment, before the puck even dropped, they were going from warm-up. Fans were ready. They were jazzed. There was no apprehension, no nervousness, things that we talked about in the pregame show, not on display from this crowd. Just a phenomenal crowd here in Winnipeg from the get-go and throughout the course of this hockey game. They did everything we talked about. In fact, we said, obviously they wanted to get an early goal, but got some good hits. And obviously
they did get that early goal. A minute 23 in, that to me was huge for the Jets too.
No question.
No question. Even though they give it up a couple minutes later, but they get those good vibes. And then it just becomes a hockey game at that point in time and less of a psychological stress test, I would argue.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair
assessment. The Jets' good vibes per 60 were, I think, 4 points.
They were high
tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, they were very high, as I would agree. And again, I just thought that they, you could just see it. You could sense it. It was going to be a fun night. I was a little disappointed Adam Lowry got that empty net goal because it killed my 4-2 prediction, but I'm sure Jets fans are happy with having that, monumental win and of course taking a 3-2 series lead back to St. Louis. And we now know the start time, a reasonable start time on Friday, right, boys? 7:00 on Friday. So that should have everyone excited because, you can watch our show after that game and then of course be ready to go for Saturday's Illegal Curve post-game, hockey show on Saturday morning at 9:00. So
that's right. So on Saturday morning's Illegal Curve hockey show, to your point, Dave, we're either talking about a series victory for the Winnipeg Jets,
right,
or we're previewing a Game 7. And for the record, there has never been in the NHL history of the Winnipeg Jets 1.0 and 2.0. There has never been a Game 7 on home ice in Winnipeg.
Ooh,
the Jets have played 3 previous Game 7s. The one in Nashville in 2018 was the most recent one, and then there was one in Edmonton and one in Vancouver back in the 1.0 era. So never before, and we're getting ahead of ourselves. The Jets certainly don't want there to be a Game 7 either. But if there is, it's the first time ever there's been a Game 7 in Winnipeg, which will be Sunday at some point in time.
Yeah.
So, might be Sunday at some point in time.
But, look, let's just call a spade a spade. The most important thing is the fact that this team didn't buckle when they lost Mark Scheifele. I mean, we're sitting here in the press box, and all of a sudden I'm counting. I'm like, what's going on right now? Someone's missing. And I'm like, Vlad Domestikov's right now is on with Gabriel Vilardi and Kyle Connor. And I'm like, is there a bump-up shift happening right now? What is going on? And then, of course, we start counting, and we quickly realize that Mark Scheifele's out. And then it's hard really to know, and we haven't obviously heard any sort of insight. I know that maybe there was some talk on the broadcast, which, of course, we can't hear here at the game. But, we saw obviously the big hit by Braden Shen, and then he had another hit at the Faxa hit at the Blues blue line. But he played the rest of the period. So we're not certain. Maybe Scott Arniel will provide some enlightenment when he speaks from the Matt Frost Media Center, boys. But for the Jets to be able to just kind of gut it out and have everyone kind of step up. Again, I'm not saying you can survive Mark Scheifele's absence for a long period of time, but impressive in this game to have done it.
Jim Montgomery coming up momentarily here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. We can see backstage camera, courtesy of photographer and videographer Colby Spence, doing a great job. He's going to bring you all of the post-game availabilities live as they happen here tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show. We can see the media is filtering in, and we will shortly bring to you Jim Montgomery, followed by a couple of Jets players, followed by Jets head coach Scott Arniel. Speak to the devil. Here's Jim Montgomery.
Jim, in the second period, you guys had trouble getting out of your own end. They had the puck all sorts of time. What got away from you there?
They were better than us. Jim, en français, peut-être, qu'est-ce que tu as pensé de la performance de ton équipe ce soir? On
On n'a pas joué comme on a joué dans le match des 3e et 4e. Faut qu'on se regroupe. Puis il falloir gagner à la maison.
They were better than you. What didn't you like about your game?
There's a lot of facets, but we're on to the next one. Hey, it's a playoff series. I thought that was their best game. I thought it was our worst game. We're on to the next one. I mean, we can analyze every part of it. They were better. So we're on to the next one.
Quick one. They got some secondary scoring from their guys tonight, especially after Scheifele left. What did you see from your top 3 lines? How can your top 3 lines be better next game?
Well, we got to be more connected. Like, I just, I didn't think our puck support was good enough. I didn't think we got back quick enough. I didn't think we won our forecheck. We didn't establish it. Like I said, it's every facet. But you know what? It's a series, and it's going to happen. Unfortunately, we're not happy about it, but we're on to the next one. It's as simple as that. We got to forget about it now. We're in a series.
Nathan Walker in the fourth line came through pretty well. Were they the best line tonight?
Yeah, I thought they did a lot of good things. Their habits and their game management was excellent. They had a lot of big hits again, and they just keep they keep building our game the right way. So they're a good example of what we need to do.
The way that first period went seemed almost like mayhem out there. I guess we've seen a physical series, but it looks like we're going to continue to see a physical series. No one's winding down.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to stop. I think both teams are competing extremely hard. It's making it a great series.
Jim, there was a long discussion with both coaches and the referees before the second period. Can you shed any light?
Well, I believe, it happens every game. If the ref wants to talk to the ref, if the one coach wants to talk to the ref before the period starts, he needs to come over and tell the other ref what the complaint was about.
Was it about the Schenn hit, or?
It was that, yes, it was about the Schenn hit. And let's make it clear. 55 got hurt from the Faxa hit. He played 6 minutes after the Schenn hit. He didn't come back after he got rocked by Faxa.
Jim, you guys had your backs against the wall so many times. I know you've touched on it a couple times here, but going back to Enterprise Center, you feel like you're in a position where you can rise to the occasion again and force this Game 7?
I believe in our group. We've done it here for 2.5 months. There's no reason to believe that we're not going to be coming out full force and trying to force a Game 7. Thank you.
Thank you.
There he goes, Jim Montgomery, the head coach of the St. Louis Blues. What he's doing there is politicking to prevent Brayden Schenn from any supplemental discipline, or the idea thereof that there might be any supplemental discipline. That's why he is so adamantly saying that Scheifele was hurt by Faxa and not by Schenn. That is what he's doing. He's trying to get ahead of the NHL Department of Player Safety, potentially looking at the Schenn hit. The Schenn hit, I don't believe, will result in any supplemental discipline. I thought it was interference. Yeah. I thought Schenn left his feet. It's a bad hit, but I don't think that it warrants supplemental discipline, and that's exactly what Jim Montgomery, by the way, who speaks great French, and I had no idea about that, that's what he was talking about there, why he was so adamant about it being Fax's hit and not Schenn's hit, as he.
That was pretty substantial, boys. Like, I honestly was expecting him to not even touch it. I don't know what you guys were thinking, or people in the chat watching live on YouTube right now, or watching the replay. I honestly didn't think that Jim Montgomery was going to touch that, but that's pretty.
Well, he's just playing politics. That's
sure.
No,
I know, but it's just like oftentimes coaches won't play along with that. Mm-hmm. Coaches will just say, I don't want to talk about it. But and let's be honest, guys, here, like, he has a point. I mean, what he's saying is not wrong. Mark Scheifele did continue to play after the Schenn hit. I don't know how you can say necessarily which hit caused the injury, because the Radek Faxa hit, Drew. The Radek Faxa hit was.
Here they come.
Here's the Jets players. We'll keep this conversation going.
Adam, how would you describe the way your group rose to the occasion after Mark left the game?
Yeah, really proud of the effort. I think, sometimes when you lose your number one center, you lose a key piece to your lineup. There can be a bit of a sag and emotional letdown. But I thought the guys really rallied around it. Coming in to the intermission, finding out that he's not coming back. The guys were upbeat that guys needed to step up. I thought Vladdy had a heck of a game. Happy Nino, throughout the lineup, guys really playing more minutes. Bear, and they do a good job. They tie the game, but I thought in the second period we did a great job forechecking, getting to our identity, getting pucks to the net, and a couple of huge goals to go into the intermission with a lead. So for the most part, I thought guys did a great job. He's a big piece of our lineup. That's a huge hole, and not one guy's gonna fill that void. But even the guy next to me stepped up, and he had a heck of a game.
Kyle, what did you see from Vlad stepping up with your line?
Yeah, great job. I mean, kind of like Law said, we needed it from everybody, and I thought he rose to the occasion. Obviously, I agree with Laws. It's not one guy just needs to fill the shoes of Mark. It needs to be everybody. And the way he plays, Vladdy, I think he's been great through the whole series. And a couple chances here or there, he could have some better results. And you see it tonight. And he drives harder than that. He plays all the hard areas very well, defends well, and obviously a key contributor on through those goals there.
Kyle, you set up Vladdy's game-winning goal, and on that rush, he's a new line mate for you. He's a lefty. He's not a righty like you guys normally are. What adjustments do you have to make on that play to make sure it works?
Yeah, just obviously be aware of where he is. It's you kind of read that rush coming into it before I get the pass that he's on that side, and he did a great job of putting himself in a lane to be able for me to get that there kind of in between his stick, and he did the rest. Just great finish around the net.
Adam, I think a few guys have said this is probably the best game you guys have played. Jim Montgomery just said this is the best game he seen from you guys, and it was a defense first sort of effort. What were you guys able to do that held them to so few shots and great ace?
Yeah, I think outside of that first goal where our line has some breakdowns and just some miscues. We talked about a lot of the offense we were giving up in St. Louis was our doing. It was, us coming out of our structure, ours just not doing the things that we're accustomed to doing in the D zone, in the neutral zone. I thought we did a really good job of breaking pucks out, playing with structure in the D zone, keeping them to the outside. I thought our box outs by our D were great, allowed Helly to make some saves. And, I think the defending, it starts, when we're forechecking. I thought we did a really good job getting on their D, turning pucks over, spending time in the O zone. And, when they would get the puck to break out, they were just dumping it, to go for changes. And then in the third period, I thought we did a really good job of, if they'd get an entry, not giving lanes, not allowing them to get to the net. And, a lot of key shot blocks, Al, I could go down the list. There was a lot of big blocks, and that's what it takes. And, I think, Helly hasn't gotten enough credit in this series. That paddle save he makes, you can call it series changing, you can call it game changing, but, that was a key play, and, I thought he had a heck of a game. Disappointing to give up that third one for him, but, he kept us in it, and, he really shut the door when we got that lead.
You touched on a bunch of it there, but they played with a whole bunch of rhythm in games 3 and 4. And it seemed like you guys took it entirely away from them. Even when they had passes, they were passing in each other's skates. You guys were breaking it up with sticks. Vladdy described it as you guys doing your homework in the last couple of days. Can you give me an idea of what the last couple of days looked like to you guys to get to that game tonight?
Do you want me to answer that one?
Either. Yeah.
Okay, I can go. I think we go into St. Louis, we're up 2-0. We're feeling good with how we played, and feeling like we can get to another level. And I think a bit of it we get distracted going into the scrums, kind of the extracurricular stuff, and they have a great start. And it was almost like we were protecting the lead in the series. I think tonight we played on our toes, we played fast. We were making simple but effective plays, and Arnie did a really good job of going through the breakdowns in game 3 and 4, and just when you review those things and you kind of see that a lot of it is self-inflicted. Not that it's an easy fix, but there's a structure we've played with, an expectation of where guys are supposed to be, and when we get back to that, we're a real tough team to get to the middle of the ice. We're a real tough team to score off of in zone plays, and we don't give up a whole lot in transition. So I think those adjustments, kind of the refresher of when we're at our best, what we look like, and when we're giving up 5-6 goals, what we also look like, and you kind of come off of it. So yeah, it was some good review. I thought we had a great practice yesterday, and getting G back in the lineup too. I thought for missing a few weeks, he had an impact right away. Some good chances early on. Some key blocks. He won a couple big face-offs for us down the stretch, and he's only going to get better as he gets more reps. So looking forward to game 6.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that, Kyle. What the impact you thought that Gabe had on this game?
Yeah, he's great. We know what he brings to the table. Wins a ton of puck battles. Smart. Great defensively. Blocks a ton of shots. What he means to our power play. Just having that right shot. So he's a game changer, and glad he's back, feeling good.
Thanks, Ed.
There they go, Kyle Connor and Adam Lowry tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Still to come, Jets head coach Scott Arniel. He'll be up momentarily to wrap up our post-game media availability from Jim Montgomery before the 2 Jets players you just heard from, and now the Jets head coach up next. Going back to Montgomery's comments about Mark Scheifele and his politicking to try and keep Braden Shen away from the NHL's Department of Player Safety. The word that comes to mind, and I don't have any insight, so I'm not going to speculate wildly, but you can't help but wonder, based on the events in question and the subsequent events in Mark Scheifele's absence, is it have something to do with the concussion protocol? That is, I think, what came to everybody's mind, especially after Jim Montgomery decided he wanted to leap on that grenade before anybody else could really get involved in it.
Yeah, I think that is definitely something that was going through a lot of people's minds, Drew. It was those were big hits, right? Mm-hmm. And you could see after both hits, Scheifele was slow to get up, and he was rattled.
Ask the players how you guys took them out of their rhythm the way you did. And Vladdy said we did our homework, and the guys kind of expanded on what the last couple of days looked like. And I guess you're the teacher. I'm interested in how proud you are of the response that you got from your pupils in executing your game plan.
Yeah, I thought it was throughout the lineup. It was outstanding. I thought that everybody stepped up. And obviously find out that Scheifele wasn't coming back. But even prior to that, I thought we had a great first, and we were physical. We were battling, competing, doing all the things we had to do. To get ourselves going, and just real proud of the way the guys stuck together and just played our game. We got the jet hockey. We got the jet hockey early, and we played it for 60 minutes.
Scott, what is Mark's status, and how will it affect his?
We'll wait and see here. Obviously, we'll just wait and see where we're at. We'll have to get him, see how he is later tonight, and see tomorrow. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see till tomorrow. I'll find out what's going on. Don't discuss it. We don't discuss injuries especially at this time of year.
There was a time where you guys picked up Vladislav Nemesnikov for a 4th-round pick. It didn't make huge headlines. It wasn't a national story, but he comes out and has a game like this for you, stepping up when Scheifele gets hurt. What can you say about his performance?
Well, it was unbelievable. We certainly needed it big time, and that's been our group. Our group has had to step up all year long with injuries, and that was huge for us to go into that role. Not only he's playing on that top line with Gabe and KC, but he's also running into Thomas's line close to every shift. So he's a good pro, and he whatever's been thrown at him, he takes on that challenge and does a fantastic job.
Scott, you had a long discussion with the referee before the second. What were your thoughts on the Shen hit?
Well, I didn't know Monty got his medical degree. I'm trying to say how our player got hurt. He's way off base. Should not make that comment. There's some things that have been going on in this series And that was a repeat of what we've seen before. A player leaving his feet and then hitting a player in a very unprotected spot, like hitting them in the sense almost blindsiding them. Not happy how the call was made. 2-minute minor. Not even looking at it is what I was upset about. And it is something that we have talked to the league about for 5 games.
How would you describe the paddle save that Hellebuck made? Short?
Yeah, those are special. I mean, obviously changes the game probably if it goes in, but that was a big time moment that those can be. That's a game changer. It really is, and that's what we needed. He said you guys talked to him. I talked to him, and he delivered.
Last one, guys.
When you've talked to the league, as you have for 5 games, about situations like this, what do they say to you?
I think I have to keep that one to myself, to us. I mean, we communicate after every game. There's some things that happen, and I'm sure that St. Louis has some things that they're complaining about, but there's things that we've noticed that have been going on since game 1, and, that hit is a lot of what we've been talking about. Thank you.
Jets head coach Scott Arniel, the word I would use to describe that press availability would be smoldering. He was unhappy.
Not mincing words. Not mincing words.
Wow.
No, he was.
What did he say? Not sure where Monty got his medical degree?
That's exactly what it was. and he's right, by the way. I know that why Jim Montgomery commented on it. It's because, as I said, he's trying to get ahead of the Department of Player Safety. But it is inappropriate for Jim Montgomery to talk about a player on another team, especially because I think, again, the word I used, it was concussion. And the only reason I use that word is because Jim Montgomery alluded to that in his comments about the Schenn hit. So I do think it is inappropriate for Jim Montgomery to have done what he did. And I think Scott Arniel was 100% right in calling out Jim Montgomery for doing so. Did it in a humorous way, so I'll give him credit. There's always room on the stage at Rumors Comedy Club for Scott Arniel, apparently, based on his comedic performance. But you could see that the Jets head coach was vibrating and was really displeased. I mean, there's been a handful of instances this season where you've seen Scott Arniel that upset, but this would be probably at the top of the list when it comes to him bristling. And it's not about, and it's about the competition. It's about the hit by Brayden Schenn. Clearly the Jets are unimpressed with the liberties that the Blues have been able to take against their players for the first 5 games of this series. We'll see what happens as a result of this game tonight and any lingering effects beyond Mark Scheifele and his questionable status moving forward to Friday. But boy, the head coaches are now, who have a friendship, the head coaches are now probably not going to be breaking bread, be it pumpernickel or sourdough, anytime soon between the two of them.
Yeah, good point, Pumpernickel. They, I think, obviously know that this is like a point of contention here. And obviously, Scott Arniel spilled some tea there, right? Like that's something that we didn't know about. We didn't know that the Jets have been talking to the league about what's been happening in this series, right? So that was pretty revealing there from Scott Arniel, and he was obviously angry on the bench in the second period. And why wouldn't he be, right? He's losing his number 1 center. It was a late hit. I'm not sure if there's any supplementary discipline coming, but that was a late hit, guys. Like, I love Brayden Schenn. I think we all respect him as a hockey player. But that was a late hit. And I think I need to go back and see.
I need to go back and look at the replays again. They only showed the replay maybe that one time,
right,
on the Sportsnet broadcast. And this isn't an insult or a commentary about them. I need to go back and see if there was head contact. There's no question that it was interference, that the puck was gone. So no question about that.
There was head contact, Drew.
Well, it was definitely a high hit. Schenn definitely left his feet. I want to go back and
Was
look
it
at
not
that.
shoulder to chest? It seemed like shoulder to chest.
It was high. I mean, I don't know if he caught the
Yeah.
jaw. That's one. I wonder if the hit after he left his feet, he sort of elevates up through the hit, and I wonder if he catches Scheifele in the jaw higher than just the chest. Because at first glance, to me, it looked like it was just the chest, and I would agree with you that if it's just chest, it's probably not going to result in anything extra. If he gets higher, and again, I need to look at the replay. If it gets higher, if he got jaw, I wonder if the NHL takes a second look at it and a second consideration about it. And boy, that would be a series changer potentially if the Blues were without Schenn to match the Jets being without Scheifele, which of course we don't yet know if that's going to be the case for Game 6 on Friday night. But a heated series so far with these two teams being as physical can be, has now sort of got beyond just the physicality. It's spilled off the ice, and you can see the intensity ratcheting up over, now that we're through Game 5 of the series.
Absolutely. And, again, Scott Arniel, just like Jim Montgomery was revealing what he was talking to the referee about, he said exactly that he was hoping that they would have reviewed it to see if it was a major, right? So again, just not your typical kind of ho-hum post-game press conference from the two coaches there. I mean, it's 5 games into the series now, guys. These teams don't like each other, and now Mark Scheifele is potentially going to be out for Game 6, right? So, really interesting stuff there from Arniel and Montgomery, and we'll see if there's any type of spillover into Game 6. But obviously, Scheifele's status, guys, is a huge story right now. We just don't know. And like I wasn't expecting Scott Arniel to say much, but we'll, I guess, find out more tomorrow. But if Scheifele's unable to go, then obviously that's a huge loss for the Jets.
No question about it. And Vlad Namestnikov, you have to talk about him stepping up tonight, Dave, for the Winnipeg Jets. Scheifele goes out. The Jets are without him for the final 40 minutes. And what happens in that second period? Frankly, the Jets play their best period of the series. I mean, the second period, which ultimately led to the Winnipeg Jets victory tonight, including the game-winning goal coming in that second period, the Jets dominated that second period. This was the Jets' best effort of the series. I would agree with Jim Montgomery saying that. And the Blues were not on their game tonight, but not so much because of what they were doing, but because what the Jets were doing to them. I thought the Jets got back to their basics. This game looked very similar to a Winnipeg Jets game. How they've succeeded for the bulk of this regular season is with a strong forecheck. Number of times the Jets were able to knock down pucks, cycle in the blue zone, keep zone time. Number of times that they were able to get shots through from the point and move the puck, north and south and from defenseman to defenseman along the blue line to get shots through. Just a much more Jets-like effort tonight. Particularly impressive given Scheifele's absence.
I'm still blown away by those comments. I got to tell you that I was listening, and of course,
your eyes. I know you're so excited to have that content. Those two interviews up on illegalcurve.com and up on the YouTube channel, so people can go back and watch them afterwards. I know where your brain's working at right now.
It's absolutely the case. You've got me dead to right through. I was hearing that, and my eyes were like saucers. I was like, wow, we have ourselves a series. But yeah, I mean, look, it's as he's right. I mean, that's interesting insight from Scott Arniel to talk about the fact that they're unhappy with the nature of the officiating. Again, stunk. I mean, and again, I say that for both ways because I was just like they were whistle happy, then they put the whistles away. I'm fine with them putting the whistles away, but I didn't love the whistle happy nature of the start of the game. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, and we'll see what the impact is on Mark Scheifele. I mean, that's, as he's right, that's not an insignificant loss. Sure, you're able to step up, but I mean, and we'll see. I mean, unfortunately for them now, they don't have the 2 days between games. They're back in action on Friday night, so they won't have a lot of time. But you just kind of think that maybe it's precautionary, and they're just going to, not take any risks with them. And we will see, again, we'll find out maybe a little bit more tomorrow. And it's always worth noting that it's important to kind of give him the night to kind of recover and rest and see how he feels in the morning. Right. So we'll find out. I don't know what the plan is yet. I haven't checked the media group chat to see where it is. I don't think they're not going to skate, but my guess is they'll hold media availability maybe at the airport. So we'll bring that, of course, to you on our YouTube channel. And yeah, I mean, it was a pretty, I mean, again, it's funny. I the whole game now, boys, I've kind of lost focus on because of the comments from Scott Arniel, right? As he, like, to me, that was like, it kind of took the wind out of the sails from the game because, I mean, look, when it was interesting because, like I said, we noticed that Scott, when we were sitting here in the press box as the second period was about to get underway, and you don't see Scheifele, you're like, okay, well, what's going on? And then I'm watching Arniel. I'm like, he's tearing a strip out of the officials right now. Like, he is pissed off. And now we know why, of course. And it's just also interesting to hear the difference of opinion that, you know, Montgomery is advocating that it was the Faxa hit, and obviously Scott Arniel is saying that it was the Schenn hit. So although curious that Scheifele stayed in the game for, you know, the rest of the period.
Well, you know, let's look at the hit. I have it here. I'll pull it up on the second screen. Here we have the hit by Brayden Schenn on Mark Scheifele. And you can see the two Jets players come in there. It's blindside. You know, let's get that comment off the screen so we can sort of Zapruder film this hit. Scheifele is not suspecting it.
It's definitely not a headshot.
It doesn't look like a headshot to me again, but it is interference. And we have seen interference, you know, result in suspensions. I believe that one of the hits in the Florida Tampa game, I don't remember which one. There were so many suspensions in that series. Was a result of an interference play. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me 100%. You know, the puck is gone, so it makes sense that Scheifele is not braced for a hit. Schenn leaves his feet. I mean, again, I don't think it's supplemental discipline worthy. I know that Jets fans aren't going to like me saying that, but if the standard for supplemental discipline in the playoffs is higher, and we always know that, you know, 1 game suspension, you know, a 2-game suspension in the regular season translates to a 1-game suspension in the playoffs. I don't know that it gets all the way up there to a suspension. Ezzy, what do you think?
I agree with you, Drew. I'd like to disagree with you on behalf of Jets fans. It was a dirty hit. Period. Dirty. Right? Like he leaves his hit. He leaves his feet.
Yeah.
Scheifele doesn't have the puck. He's unsuspecting. It's a dirty hit. Schenn does get a penalty on the play. Is there an argument that it should have been a major penalty? Yeah, absolutely. I think you could argue that should have been a major penalty. So maybe for that reason, there's some supplemental discipline, but I'm kind of leaning towards there won't be. At the end of the day,
the only thing I want to see, sorry, Ezzy, the only thing I want to see, and we're not going to see it on this clip that's playing here, is a reverse angle to see if Schenn's gloves come up and make contact with Scheifele's jaw.
Well, I'd like to see the reverse angle, Dave, especially because we've just watched this about 50 times. Because I don't know what that was, a Vine or whatever. We've got it on loop, but yeah, it's a dirty hit. Brayden Schenn's obviously a physical player, and to Dave's point, hopefully it's just precautionary, because obviously, you know, Scheifele in a Game 5 must-win situation would do everything he could to come back into the game, right? So we'll wait and see what happens. But like we said earlier, if he's out for any significant amount of time, that's a huge loss for the Jets. Can they still win Game 6 or you know, lose Game 6 and win Game 7 and win the series without Scheifele? Absolutely. They won the first 2 games of the series without Gabe Vilardi and without Nick Ehlers, but Mark Scheifele is your number 1 center. He's one of the most impactful players on the team. So hopefully he is going to be back for Game 6, but he took not just one big hit. The Faxa hit was, Faxa's a big man, boys. Faxa's 6'3", 200, well over 200 pounds. That was a big hit too. And obviously, you know, that happened after the Schenn hit. So, you know, it was a rough night for 55.
You know, again, if the C word is what's involved, if it's concussion, you know, first of all, it can be a cumulative effect of the 2 hits. So for Montgomery to say, no, it was the Faxa hit, which everybody would agree was a clean body check, but it's not the Schenn hit. Well, again, where did Jim Montgomery get his medical degree, to quote Scott Arniel? Because clearly that's not
That was an
accurate.
amazing line. Like one of the all-time great lines.
You might see that on some of those top 10, you know, coach. Dave, you're on mute, so we couldn't hear you there.
I was going to say, I've already clipped it. It's on a Lido curve.
There you go. Clip it and, you know, and everything else. But
I clipped it and ripped it.
There you go. You know, so again, it could be a cumulative effect, but that Schenn hit, the one we were just showing, certainly seems like it's going to be a storyline and something curious to see what the NHL does with it, if anything. I'm leaning towards them not doing anything, or maybe a fine.
I was going to say, or he'll get the
Yeah,
meaningless
$2,500
$5,000 fine that his teammates pay for.
Exactly. It doesn't mean anything whatsoever at that point in time. But the latest on that will, of course, come likely tomorrow, and we'll have it for you on illegalcurve.com and on all of our social media platforms. We're 40 minutes into the Illegal Curve post-game show. It's after midnight. There's 850 of you joining us live. Great audience. Thanks so much for everybody that's tuned in here. Smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn your notifications on, because we're going to do this again after Game 6 on Friday, and then again on Saturday morning with the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. And then if there's a Game 7, we'll have an Illegal Curve pregame show and an Illegal Curve postgame show. Time will tell on that front. But let's get into the nitty-gritty details of this game as we're in 40 minutes into the postgame show. It's the Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, as well as the Illegal Curve post-game show. Don't bet on illegal sites. Bet with Play Now instead. Manitoba's local, legal, and secure gambling site. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. We talked about the starts for the Winnipeg Jets. They've been slow so far in this series. It was not slow for the Jets tonight to get underway. Kyle Connor, bizarre sort of goal. Kyle Connor gets his fourth of the series, assist to Mark Scheifele and Mason Appleton. Appleton's down on the ice. He thinks he gets high sticked. He's down on the ice. He's, complaining to the official about the lack of a call. While he's complaining, he gets up and shuffles the puck over to Mark Scheifele. Scheifele feeds it out front to Kyle Connor. Connor rips it past Jordan Binnington. The Jets have a 1-0 lead, a minute 23 into the game. But Mason Appleton doesn't even go celebrate with his teammates. He's still yelling at the official over the missed call. Just a bizarre sequence of events, but a beautiful start to the game for the Winnipeg Jets. They needed to get an early goal, and they get it off the stick of Kyle Connor at the 1:23 mark, Ezzy.
Yeah, and if you watch the replay, which I'm watching right now, Mason Appleton is high sticked by Robert Thomas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They missed that.
They missed it. The official was only right in front of them, so it's understandable that they would have missed that one.
But obviously we're not going to use this opportunity to pick on the officiating, but that was a missed call, and Mason Appleton has every right to be upset about that because it was a high stick. But you're right, Drew. It kind of threw everything off.
Yeah.
With Mason Appleton down on the ice complaining, and it's almost like the Blues stopped there. It was Ryan Suter behind the net. And what I love the most about this is that in the middle of getting up and complaining to the officials, Mason Appleton kicks the puck to Mark Scheifele behind the net.
Yes.
So let's give Apples a big shout out here and a lot of credit here for the secondary assist he gets on this goal after being high sticked by Robert Thomas. So
3 assists on the night for Mason Appleton. So he was a secondary assist maven tonight for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, and a nice pass by Scheifele to Kyle Connor, who roofs it past Jordan Binnington. And like we talked about, guys, at City Place for the pregame show, that's exactly what the Jets wanted. They wanted to get the crowd even more into it and get the first goal, and that's what they did. And even though Nathan Walker scored shortly after to tie the game up, it was obviously a huge goal to score, whatever it was, 78 seconds into the game.
Braden Shen on the hit on Mark Scheifele. This just coming in courtesy of our friend Jeremy Rutherford. Quote, "I haven't seen the replay, but I don't believe I hit him in the head." That's what Braden Shen had to say. This courtesy Jeremy Rutherford of The Athletic, good friend of ours here at Illegal Curve. So that's what Braden Shen had to say. Again, no surprise. I don't think he would say, yeah, I hit him right in the head. I totally got away with it. But nonetheless, that's the quote just coming over the wire. We don't have wires anymore. I don't even know if there are news wires. I guess our news wire is X nowadays. And that's what Braden Shen had to say about that hit, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by that. I mean, it seems that they're adopting a party line and trying to redirect attention to the Faxa hit on Mark Scheifele. But, you know what? I just want to get back to the Appleton goal. I mean, the Appleton play, because it seemed throughout the course of this game, I was like, maybe he's a very good soccer player, but he was using his feet quite a bit, boys, to when they were in tight and he couldn't get access to his stick, so he was kicking the puck to the defenseman. I noticed they did it once in the second period, but yeah, I mean, it was just heads up play by him, and no pun intended in that regard, because he's got the shot to the face and he manages to kick it over to Scheifele, and who gets it over to Kyle Connor, who I should mention, because, everybody loves my minutia, that Mark Scheifele is now tied with Thomas Steen for second most points ever, playoff points, I should say. And sits 5 back of Dale Hawerchuk, his idol, of course, and mentor. And so he is 5 points back of the all-time lead by Dale Hawerchuk, and Kyle Connor moved past Blake Wheeler. So Kyle Connor with his his goal and 2 assists, he moves it with 40 points. So he is now ahead of Blake Wheeler. So he is second on Jets 2.0, and he is fourth, all time as he with the on the Jets Winnipeg all-time points list.
There you go. Some good minutia from Dave Minuk, as only he can do on the Illegal Curve post-game show. The Jets 1-0 lead does not last for long. It lasts for all of 2 minutes and 21 seconds. Nathan Walker, 4th line goal for the St. Louis Blues, his first of the series. Assist to Colton Parayko and Cam Fowler. The Jets get running around in their own zone. It sort of starts with Josh Morrissey blowing a tire. The Jets are in a decent position. Dylan DeMello, I believe, is trying to find Josh Morrissey with a pass behind the net to lead a breakout. Morrissey falls, toe picks, and then it's chaos a little bit in the Winnipeg Jets zone. The Blues get a number of shot attempts through, and they gather up their own rebounds, and eventually Nathan Walker is there to tip the Colton Parayko shot past and through Connor Hellebuck to tie the game up at 1 goal apiece. So, we got a chaotic start, a little bit, goals within the first 4 minutes, but just real bad timing by Josh Morrissey and sort of in tripping, accidentally falling there. And then from then on, it was a fire drill for the Winnipeg Jets, and they weren't able to successfully evacuate their own zone.
Right. And you mentioned Morrissey falls, and then everything kind of snowballs after that. And Morrissey and DeMello were running around a little bit, skating around a little bit in their own zone. And what I didn't like is that Nino Niederreiter was right there with Nathan Walker, and then he kind of just leaves him. And that's what I didn't like about this tip, is that Nathan Walker doesn't really have any Jets on him. And it's a nice, Colton Parayko had the original shot, came around back to him, and then he had the point shot. And, it's a nice tip by Nathan Walker, who obviously we'll mention again later, who scored in the 3rd period. But it wasn't the type of response that you wanted from the Jets. Pardon me, I should say that it's the type of response you wanted from St. Louis. It wasn't the type of you didn't want that result coming so quickly after the Jets scored the first goal. But give the Blues credit. They've scored a lot of goals like that, hardworking goals like that, just low to high point shots, getting bodies in front, tipping. And Nathan Walker's a small guy. Like, he's only 5'8" or 5'9", but he's a good little player.
Yeah, it's Australian born at least. So he certainly is, I believe, the only Australian player in the NHL. He's carved out a very successful career.
Or no, there's one more, Kevin Koala.
Vegemite,
you set me up for that one, Drew.
Yeah. Vegemite indeed is, very good to Ezzy. 1-1, get into some penalties. The Jets get a power play opportunity after a goal-mouth scramble. Braden Shen gets called for roughing and interference. Brandon Tanev gets called for roughing. The Jets get a power play opportunity, and then Gabe Vilardi gets an interference call, and Oscar Sundqvist gets called for embellishment at the same time, which, Dave, you're on mute again, so I can't hear what you're saying. So, if you wanted to resolve that, that's up to you or not. In any event, before the embellishment call and the interference call by Vilardi, Connor Hellebuck with his best save of the playoff series so far. It's a 2-on-1 for the St. Louis Blues, and Connor Hellebuck makes an absolutely incredible paddle save to prevent the Blues from scoring shorthanded and keep the score tied up at 1 goal apiece. I mean, it's a goal. He's beat on this one, no fault of his own, but he just sticks the paddle back and is able to deflect the puck away from the empty net. Again, not textbook, but beautiful nonetheless, effective, keeping the score at 1 goal apiece, Dave.
No, it's a massive play. I'd say it's the most important play of the game, to be honest with you, Drew, because at that point, Jets fans were excited. It's 1-0. You're like, okay, they score early. They've got control of the game because of a couple good hits. and the crowd's into it. And like you guys just went over, now suddenly it's a 1-1 game. And you're like, okay, is there a bit of nervousness, a little bit of nervous energy? And then you get this. And again, I didn't like the penalties. Just bizarre. Like the Sundqvist one, he looked like it was like I think we figured out where the second shooter was, boys. Because I mean, that was like, he looked like he just got leveled, but it really wasn't. When we saw the replay,
here's what Sundqvist had to say. Sorry, let me just interrupt you. Sundqvist, courtesy Jeremy Rutherford again. Quote, I mean, I'm bleeding from my lip and my teeth are hurting, so I don't know how that's an embellishment, to be honest. So that was Sundqvist obviously disagreed with the embellishment aspect of that call.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. I mean, if that happened, it happened. But I guess what I'm saying is that like the refs were a little whistle happy there for my liking. And it's a turning point in the game because, I mean, the Jets have the opportunity on the power play, and we're, Gabriel Velarde's back, right, Ezzy? And so you're like, okay, Velarde's back. Let's see what the Jets are going to be able to do. And then they give up a 2-on-1, and you're like, oh man. And if they score, your mama, right? And not only do they not score, Hellebuyck makes the nicest save of the. I mean, I shouldn't say the nicest save of the playoffs because I don't know that, but it's a hell of a hard save. I mean, he
arguably the nicest save of the series, though, Dave.
For sure.
And it's funny, I think Harner Ryan saying originally didn't realize how good of a save it was until they showed the replay, and then Harner Ryan and John Garrett were really singing the praises of Connor Hellebuyck because he was Sundqvist has a wide open net, and Hellebuck's kind of turning, and like Drew said, he makes the paddle save, but he's like it's almost like behind the back kind of. It just an incredible save, and that's what he needed to do. And keep in mind, right? Like we just talked about Nathan Walker a couple minutes after Kyle Connor opened the scoring, it could be a completely different game. And
if you give up a shorthanded goal in that instance, after you get the opening goal and you give up a shorthanded goal right at that point in time, within the first 5-6 minutes of this game, you're down 2-1. It changes the tide of the game completely. Absolutely. I would agree with you there. That's how big of a save it was for Connor Hellebuyck and for the Winnipeg Jets. He wasn't great tonight. Hellebuyck wasn't. I mean, the Snuggerud goal, which we'll get to, was a stinker, probably the worst goal, the stinkiest goal he's given up all series. Yeah. But the fact he made this save when he made it was an absolutely epic
timely
save for the Winnipeg Jets.
He also made, and I'm sure Drew, you've got a notebook there. I've got my little notebook here as well. He made a nice save on Colton Parayko late in the first period as well.
Yes, he did.
And by the way, if Colton Parayko's a man mountain, first of all, he's got a hard shot. Sure. Holy smokes, does he have a hard shot? I don't know what that was clocked at, but anyways, he made a big save on Parayko as well. And
that was in the final minute of the first period with the Jets had the 2-1 lead. Parayko walks in. He has got so much time. He can make himself, he can make himself a lobster dinner. He's got so much time and space. And it was Mano against Mano, and Hellebuyck came up big and was the victor in that battle.
Right, and there weren't a lot of shots on Hellebuyck. I forget what was it, 20 shots, 21 shots,
19
something
shots
like that
at the end of the game.
There you
Only
go.
9 through the first 40 minutes. The Jets did a really good job stifling
especially
the Blues.
In the second.
Right.
Yeah, like Dave said, I think the Blues only had 3 shots in that second period, right? So Hellebuyck, even though he only has to face 19 shots, he makes some really big saves. Mm-hmm. And so again, was it his best night? Like I agree with you, Drew. The Snuggerud goal, which we'll get into obviously here in a few moments. I mean, he the angle's just off, right? Like he's just not. There's just too much room there between his.
You can't get beat short side. I mean, Snuggerud doesn't get a lot on that shot. We're skipping ahead, but that's okay. Snuggerud doesn't get a lot on that shot. It's not like Snuggerud picks a corner and it's an exceptional shot. No. It's a weak goal, as weak can be. Anytime a goalie gets beat short side, they're not going to like it. But nothing about the Snuggerud shot here should have gone in. This was not a scoring opportunity. This was bad by Connor Hellebuyck on that one. And I mean, he's fortunate that the rest of his teammates stepped up for the rest of the second period and picked them up. But that was a bad goal.
Jumped ahead though, Drew. You're way ahead.
Drew's jumping ahead, but that was kind of my fault as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But Dave, the thing with Hellebuyck is, and obviously we'll get to Niederreiter's goal here because it was obviously a huge goal.
For him,
the Jets are up 3-2 in the series, and Hellebuyck has really only had one good game, right? Game 2 was his only really game where you would say, that was Hellebuyck. That's what we expect out of Hellebuyck. And I'm not sure what that means, but it's pretty crazy that we're heading into Game 6 in St. Louis. The Jets can close out the series, and Hellebuck has not played his best hockey yet. I think that's an advantage for the Jets, to be honest with you, and that's not a good thing for the Blues, because I think Hellebuck has a type of performance in him to close out close out Game 6, boys, and not give the Blues a lot. Like, I could see him, shutting the door big time in St. Louis.
Well, we'll deal with that as we get closer to Friday night and everything else. But to your point, going back to the 2-1 goal, the Niederreiter goal at the 8:39 mark of the first period, it's Niederreiter, his first assist to Dylan Samberg and Neil Pionk. It's a clean zone entry by Vlad Nemesnikov. He retrieves his own sort of dump in. So it's a good start to the play by Nemesnikov. He obviously doesn't get an assist on this one, but you like that he gains the zone. He gets the puck, moves it around. Appleton sends it back to Samberg, over to Pionk, back to Samberg. And look where Niederreiter is on this one. He's right in front of Jordan Binnington, and he gets his stick on the puck. So you were talking, Dave, during the pregame show, during the Illegal Curve pregame show. This, I guess that was yesterday night at City Place a few hours ago, as we're past midnight in the Central Time Zone now. That the Jets couldn't just throw pucks at Binnington with no traffic in front. And they had a concerted effort and a successful effort in this game and on this goal to take away Binnington's eyes. And Niederreiter gets a much-needed goal for a guy who has been struggling so far in the series.
Absolutely. Could not have come, sooner for Niederreiter. And again, we spoke with him earlier this morning, and he knew he had to be better. And we knew that, putting him back together with Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton would give those guys that familiarity and that opportunity to kind of look, they've played how many games together this season, so they have a ton of muscle memory. And we knew
56
that the Jets,
or something is what I said.
Yeah, so exactly. It's a big number, and again, there's a lot of familiarity. So that these guys were ready to go, and Nino Niederreiter did exactly what we talked about the Jets weren't doing. They weren't making it hard on Jordan Binnington. Jordan Binnington's an excellent goaltender. I mean, if anybody has any questions about Jordan Binnington's abilities, I mean, look what he did for the Blues in 2019, and look what he did for Canada at the Four Nations. He's a very good goaltender, and if you're not going to make his life hard, then he's going to make the saves. So the Jets did exactly what they needed to do, made his life a little bit more difficult, and sure enough, they get that reward. And again, the building erupts. I mean, like I said, not a surprise, of course, but you could just feel that. We talk about the momentum swing when you don't give up that second goal shorthanded, which I'm not saying it would have been the end of the game, but that would have been just a killer blow. And instead, you're able to exit that first period up 2-1. Of course, you lose Mark Scheifele, so that changes the tenor of the second period. But at this point, nobody knows, and you're celebrating with the ability. And more importantly, guys, I should mention a number of instances in the first and second periods of not allowing grade A's with a minute to go or 2 minutes to go. Cause that's kind of like I was talking to the guys in the press box. I said to Connor, who will have some good thoughts on tomorrow on illegalcurve.com tomorrow, his next day thoughts column. But one of the things we talked about was just the Jets weren't giving up those grade A as to allow St. Louis to have that last second goal to kind of deflate the sails, if you will.
The Parayko one was a grade A opportunity late in the first period, but Hellebuck stepped up in that instance, and the Jets absolutely needed him to make that save because again, St. Louis has scored a multitude of goals in this series late in periods, and it's a completely different vibe. And we've been talking about vibes for most of today. It's a completely different vibe if it's a 2-2 game after 20 minutes as opposed to a 2-1 Winnipeg Jets lead, which is what it was after 20 minutes. That said, the Blues do tie it up at the 6:06 mark of the second period. It's the Snuggerud goal. We talked about it already as his second of the series. Robert Thomas gets the assist as well. It's a bad goal. Connor Hellebuck himself knows better than anybody that he can't let this one in. But what I like about it is the Jets' response. They don't hang their head. They keep going right after this one. They get even before they make it 3-2. That's when they have the 3-on-1 opportunity, the Neil Pionk chance, if you remember. Jeremy Binnington made a nice glove save off Pionk. After Snuggerud had tied it up, the Jets sort of kept going, and they really took control of this game in the second period and played by far their best period of hockey. The goals were one thing, and we'll get into those, but just the one-sidedness of that second period. Shot attempts for the Jets in the second, 31-7. Expected goals for the Jets in the second period, 85% to 15%. High danger chances in the second period, 5-2. It was a complete dominant effort for the Winnipeg Jets in that second period, which is the response you want to see from them after Hellbuck gives up that weak goal.
Absolutely. You just mentioned the numbers, Drew, and the numbers don't lie there. It was completely dominant in terms of the scoring chances, the shots, everything like that. And, I loved the way they were playing. I loved the way that they were rolling lines. And, I also loved how, even though the power play, the Justin Falk slashing penalty on Niederreiter, that power play did not look good. Right. And, that's something, again, guys, I don't mean to be negative Nelly here. That's usually Drew's job, but I mean, again, they're up 3-2 in the series, and they've only scored 2 power play goals in 5 games, which, again, I think is an advantage for the Jets. If they're able to score a power play goal in Game 6, that's only going to further help them close out this series, right, guys? So I think, it was obviously huge that they were able to respond right after, and it's the same thing again. They got more traffic, they were getting shots through, and let's be honest here, there hasn't been a lot of offense from the defense, right? We've talked about it. Josh Morrissey, there's some talk about, maybe an injury or something like that.
He's
we don't know.
Beat up pretty good. I mean, Zach Bolduc had a hit on Josh Morrissey late in that second period. I mean, you can see what the Blues' strategy is. It's not difficult to pinpoint.
Well, it's rock'em sock'em hockey time.
It's rock'em sock'em hockey, and it's absolutely let's take the Jets stars and try and run them through the end boards. And whether or not you like that hockey or not, and I understand, why you wouldn't, in that it takes skill players, off of the ice and replace it. That's what the Blues need to do to be successful in this series. And to their credit, they're executing it pretty well. Now, the officials may be letting things go that they shouldn't. Scott Arniel would certainly say so based on his post-game comments. But you see Morrissey has been absolutely pelted a number of times by the St. Louis Blues, just like we've seen Scheifele and we've seen Kyle Connor as well. Connor, I think, has been able to evade it better than maybe Scheifele and Morrissey have. But certainly the strategy is pretty clear for the St. Louis Blues.
Right. And just wanted to throw in one thing. Sorry, Dave. That's okay. On this goal, I mean, look, it's Dylan DeMello putting the puck on net. He acknowledges that Gabe Velarde's in front there, causing problems for Jordan Binnington and Colton Parayko. It obviously goes off Parayko's butt. But again,
that's the third goal. That's the Dylan DeMello goal. Okay, so let me just.
I thought we were skipping over the. I thought we were skipping over Snuggerud's goal.
We are, but we're talking about the 3-2 goal. Dylan DeMello.
Before you get there, though, I just want to say, further to the point, and again, you never know what they show on TV, but Josh Morrissey was feeling it. You could see it. There's one play, he's down on one knee in the blue zone, gets to the bench, and we're discussing it, and you just see him kind of hunched over, and you just realize, like you said, it's clearly he's being targeted, and we know it, and it's a strategy, obviously, of St. Louis to pound the Jets defense, and I mean, I understand it. That's the physicality of that team, but Josh Morrissey is receiving the brunt of Neil Pionk isn't. And let me tell you, Neil Pionk wasn't making any friends when Braden Shen was losing his mind in the penalty box, or he wasn't even actually in the penalty box. He actually went in the penalty box, then he came out of the penalty box, and then Adam Lowry must have been on the bench, so Neil Pionk was there talking to the officials, and he and I don't know if it was Bolduc or not, but they almost got into it, and you could just see, I understand why Neil Pionk is so annoying to play against, because as he just sat there with that little Cheshire cat grin and just waiting to get his face punched, but you could just see he's just irritating, and then Lowry subsequently showed up. But anyways, I just thought it was interesting. But yeah, you can definitely see that Morrissey is feeling the brunt of the St. Louis attention.
Jets make it 3-2. So Hellbuck gives up the bad Snuggerud goal. The Jets then take over for the remainder of the second period and utterly dominated. I said the numbers before. Dylan DeMello gets his first of the series, assist to Kyle Connor and Vlad Nemesnikov. Again, a clean zone entry for the Winnipeg Jets. They get a fortuitous bounce. How many goals have gone in off of Jets players and past Connor Hellbuck? Certainly remember the one, I think, off Neil Pionk in Game 3, if I recall correctly. If it might have been Game 4 at this point in time.
Game 4. Yeah.
Game 4. Okay, whatever it was. The Jets finally get a good bounce in that.
It's his first ever playoff goal, Drew.
the first ever for Dylan DeMello. The puck gets back to him from Kyle Connor. Nemesnikov picks up the loose puck to start it behind the blue zone. Gabe Vilardi gains the zone with the puck, and then it goes right around. You see Vilardi goes right around the net and back out the backside, and he's sort of causing chaos standing next to Colton Parayko. Parayko is bothered by Vilardi, focusing his attention on Vilardi, and the fortuitous bounce goes in off of his rear end, deflects past Jordan Binnington, and the Jets have that all-important 3-2 lead, getting it back after the Snuggerud goal. This coming in the second period, just in the back half of the second period, a second period the Jets have largely controlled to this point.
Drew, you mentioned the word fortuitous, and both teams have had fortuitous bounces, and it's because Gabe Vilardi causes the chaos there. And again, Parayko's boxing Vilardi out, but like you said, he starts the playoff with his own entry, and I thought Vilardi was really good tonight, right? Like, we didn't know what to expect. He hasn't played in over a month, right? But yeah, I mean, that's just DeMello putting the puck on net and Vilardi going to the net. But again, we saw more of that. There was a more concerted effort by the Jets to do that tonight. And the Jets had all of the zone time and not all of the zone time, but you know what I mean? They had all of the pressure, all the momentum on their side and they were rewarded. I strongly believe in hockey that you create your own luck. And that was evidenced on that play.
Yeah, the Jets did all the right things there. They got the puck in low. They got a clean zone entry. Vilardi went to the net. If he doesn't go hard to the net and position himself at the far post, Parayko's not there to try and defend it. It doesn't deflect off of Parayko if Vilardi doesn't go to where he needs to go on this goal. And that's why the Jets get rewarded, justifiably so, to take that 3-2 lead. Then they make it 4-2. This comes about 7 minutes later with 1 minute and 9 seconds to go in the second period. We got Niederreiter. The Jets got Niederreiter off the schneid earlier in the game. They now get Vlad Nemesnikov off the schneid, his first of the series assist to Kyle Connor and Mason Appleton. It's a beautiful play by the Winnipeg Jets. It's also our Seagram shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. You see, I have a little bottle of Fireball here, but I'll let somebody else take the shot on my behalf because it's 12:45 in the morning and I have to be up with my children in about 6 hours. So starting to drink.
Take a shot, Drew. Come on.
No, I'm going to leave it for somebody else who doesn't have to maybe wake up as early as we do. We'll have the honor to do that. But what a play by Kyle Connor, Dave, to feather the pass through Justin Falk onto the stick of Vlad Nemesnikov, who doesn't play around with it. He just puts it right into the net past Jordan Binnington. This is Kyle Connor. Again, he never gets enough credit for his playmaking ability. Everyone thinks of him as a goal scorer.
He does on this show.
Yeah, on this show he does. You're right. But around the league, he doesn't. And this is just it at the absolute perfect play. Sandberg to Pionk up to Appleton with a nice pass through to Kyle Connor. It's almost like a modified 3-on-2 that becomes a bit of a 2-on-1 for the Winnipeg Jets. And you just have to absolutely love how Connor finds Nemesnikov, and Nemesnikov makes no mistake. It's ultimately the game-winning goal for the Winnipeg Jets tonight, and it comes late in the period, which is so important to give them that 4-2 goal, that 4-2 lead late in that second period.
Well, and let's go back a little bit, Drew. I mean, Kyle Connor makes it kind of a soft pass in the neutral zone that gets intercepted. But then what does he do, Ezzy? He goes back and he takes the puck off the Blues forward who intercepted it. So, I mean, it's a nice takeaway from Kyle Connor. He then starts the play to the defenseman who, as you said, Drew, get it up to Mason Appleton, the assist machine, the Apple machine today. And he gets his, I think that was his second of the game at that point.
Yes.
And he makes a nice little pass over. And the reason why you have to understand with, people could be mad at Jordan Binnington, but Kyle Connor has got such a dangerous shot that you don't know if he's shooting in that instance. Because he could just he get the pucks on his backhand, but he could bring it to his forehand that quick and shoot it because he's got such a good release. And instead, so that's why you have to be aware because he's in that soft spot right in front of Jordan Binnington. But Really nice play by Connor to just no look that pass over. And credit Vlad Nemesnikov. I mean, we were joking around up here. I said, maybe it was just as he didn't want to score. Well, he was just regarded as a second line center. He said, I'm only going to score as a first line center. And let me tell you, it took him 21 games to score, or 21 or 22 games, which is unfortunate because it took us that long to hear who let the dogs out. So the folks heard who let the dogs out. They were singing. And again, I want to credit Kyle Balhari and his crew here at Canada Life because
ballsy.
Because when the fans were singing, they were playing great. And even like there was one instance where the fans were singing, then they kind of died, and then here they played that same song, kind of brought it back out. So they were doing a good job here with the music, and like I said, the fans did a phenomenal job as they've done all season long. But real huge play because, like you said, Drew, end of the period. You're not tight because you've now taken a 4-2 lead, and you're wondering how are they going to be able to come out in the third period like they had when they had those leads. We weren't certain, of course, and we knew St. Louis would have something to say about it.
4-2 for the Jets after 40 minutes. Third period starts, and the question, is what kind of period are the Jets? How are the Jets going to approach this? The Jets are one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team in the league, with holding a lead. And I'll be honest, I was a little nervous for the first few minutes that all they were going to try and do was go into a defensive shell where they were just going to try and flip the puck out of the zone, and certainly look that way for the first couple of minutes of the third period. And then it sort of turned at that, after a few minutes, they decided, no, this isn't going to be an effective way to manage a 2-goal lead. Frankly, they should have had a 3-goal lead early in the third period. Vlad Nemesnikov misses just a gorgeous play, everything but the execution.
I don't know how he missed the net on that. I really don't.
I don't know how he missed it either.
I thought that was a
I don't think
goal.
he knows how he missed it either.
Well, and just going back to, Dave broke down Nemesnikov's goal. It was a huge goal. And Dave's right to point out that Kyle Connor retrieves a puck from, it was Zach Bolduc who he took the puck back from in the neutral zone. But, I mean, let's just talk about how big of a goal that is for Vlad Nemesnikov and that second line, right? Like, because not only did he not have a point in the first 4 games, guys, he didn't have a goal in however many games it was, 20 games, 25 games, whatever it was. So that's a huge goal for Nemesnikov. And look, we don't know if Scheifele is going to be out for game 6, but regardless if Nemesnikov is centering the top line or if he's centering the second line, his normal spot, I mean, they need him to be clicking going forward into the playoffs, not just for game 6, but going into looking ahead to round 2, right? Which obviously we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. So just a huge goal for Nemesnikov personally.
Yeah, he had.
By the way, I don't know if they showed on the replay, but I had some people responding to me, and again, I couldn't really tell. Did the Blues knock that puck out or did Nemesnikov just put it wide? Because my impression was he just put it wide.
Put it wide.
That's what I thought. But then someone responded to me and said that one of the Blues defenders got their stick on it. I didn't think so, but I wasn't sure if they said anything on the broadcast.
No, I didn't think so. He walked Jordan Binnington. It's a beautiful move.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Walks Binnington, and he just doesn't execute the final step of the play. That would have put the game away at that point in time. Instead,
just a bit outside.
Yeah, just.
And then, by the way, Drew, but Drew, with mentioning that, and yeah, it really did. I'm watching it right now, but you also got to mention the 2-pad stack by Luke Shannon. I know we did it in our preamble.
That's next on my notes.
Oh, all right, never mind. Sorry,
well,
you're the host.
No, it's okay. You can mention it. I mean, what happens? It's a Jake Neighbors shot after a D-zone turnover. You can see Sandberg has no idea that the Blues player is coming from behind him, and he just picks his pocket.
Yeah.
Well, he's got 2 guys. He's got 2 guys in front of him. So as he's like, there's 2 guys in front of me. There can't be a third guy behind me.
Yeah.
Gotta be someone else around somewhere else on the ice.
Unfortunately, there wasn't, and it's a turnover, and Jake Neighbors is in an absolutely prime shooting position. But Luke Shen, I mean, again, the Jets blocked so many shots in that third period. I have a note here about Alex Iafallo blocking a shot off of Cam Fowler.
Yeah, so it was important too, Drew, because it was because the puck, there was a little bit of extra time in the Jets zone, and the puck squirts out, and the Jets were really good about not allowing them to get set up on the point, I thought, today.
Mm-hmm. The Jets got into the shooting lanes better than they have in any of the other games, certainly since game 2's victory in Winnipeg. You saw it from Luke Shen. You saw it from Alex Iafallo, Neil Pionk. There was that play where Jordan Kyrou just sort of bursts in out of nowhere. Thank you to Errol. That's very generous of you. Totally unnecessary, but we do appreciate that kind of generosity. Thank you to everybody who's joining us tonight here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. It's now 10 minutes to 1 in the morning, and there's 725 of
I'm
you.
still at the arena. Let me go home.
Dave's still at the arena. We'll get you get home soon enough, Dave.
I'm just kidding. Keep
Just
going.
sleep there, Dave.
All good. I'll just meet the players at the airport.
At the
tomorrow.
airport tomorrow. Exactly. Anyways, thank you everybody for that and your continued support. Also smash the like button and subscribe to the show and turn your notifications on. Rob Mahoney, that's funny. He was going to ask Errol to borrow $70. Sorry, Errol's gave it to us instead. Neil Pionk, that defensive play after Jordan Kyrou sort of puts on the rocket skates after that neutral zone faceoff. And he looks like he's maybe got an opportunity here, but Pionk just pokes the puck away, makes a solid defensive effort. The Jets were on their details tonight, and they were rewarded. That's what you've seen. When they're on their details for this year, they've usually ended up in victory. And ultimately, that's where they get into the empty net. Even after Adam Lowry just misses on a wraparound attempt, he does get the empty net goal. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
Well, the only thing I was going to say, Drew, I love the fact that they didn't sit back. I mean, they're up 4-2.
Right.
And they could very easily go into a defensive shell and try and hold the score at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, and obviously it proved to be important given the fact they gave up a third goal. But the fact of the matter is that Lowry, saw an opportunity. The puck squirts free. There's a little time and space. He gets on his horses and he tries to go for the wraparound. I mean, again, it may have been interesting if they did score because Nino Niederreiter was lying right in the blue paint as he, so there may have been a challenge from St. Louis. But the fact of the matter is you like the fact that they're still pushing to extend that lead. So good on the Jets for not stepping back and just kind of going into that shell. And then Nino Niederreiter almost puts it in from his stomach. But Jordan Binnington is positioned well to stop that play.
Especially to your point there, Dave, the Jets from after the 5-minute mark of the third period until there was 5 minutes left in the third period, that 10-minute period there, that's really where they decided they weren't just going to go into the shell. They were going to try and force the play, and they did so successfully. A desperate St. Louis Blues team for that, that 10-minute chunk in the middle of the third period really wasn't able to handle the Winnipeg Jets. And that was, I thought, totally important because if they stuck with the shell that they tried to play for the first 5 minutes, I don't know that they would have been able to hold on for the entirety of that third period. The Jets get the 5-2 goal into the empty net. It's Adam Lowry, assist to Mason Appleton and Nino Niederreiter. The Blues get it to 5-3 with 51 seconds to go. Nathan Walker, but that's nothing but window dressing. And a huge victory for the Winnipeg Jets as a 5-3 tonight on home ice. They have the opportunity on Friday to wrap it up in St. Louis, but this was the game that the Jets needed. They finally win a playoff game after losing a playoff game. That narrative can be put to bed for a little while, and the narrative about the lack of secondary scoring as the Jets get a bunch from Nemesnikov and they get a bunch from Niederreiter. Also huge for the Winnipeg Jets moving forward.
I think the biggest takeaways from this game, or the biggest signs, I think, of hope that the Jets are going to be able to close out this series in Game 6 is, you just mentioned it, Drew, the secondary scoring led by Vlad Nemesnikov, who was really good today, elevated to the top-line center role without Mark Scheifele, and the improved play of Hellebuck. Even though we agree that the Jimmy Snuggerud goal was stinky and he shouldn't have allowed that goal, the save that he made on Oscar Sundqvist was one of the nicest saves, I think, of the first round of the playoffs so far. Certainly in this series, it's one of the nicest saves we've seen. So a huge win for the Jets, and hopefully they're going to be able to close it out in St. Louis. I think Jets fans, even though they would like to see a potential Game 7, I think Jets fans will be pretty happy if the Jets are able to close it out, because there still is the narrative going in this series, guys. The home team has won every single game through 5.
It certainly has. It's been a home dominant series thus far. The Jets live up to their end of the bargain with their 5-3 victory.
I can actually do quite a bit of push-ups. Like, I think you guys have seen it. I think people are surprised because I'm a big man, but I can do actually quite a few push-ups.
He can move.
If FKN Loaded wants to see me do some push-ups, it would be hard to to see it on the screen, but yes, I can do push-ups. I can do 5. You know what?
Errol, Errol doesn't want you to. He says, listen, no push-ups. We have enough upper body injuries already.
That's right. I agree with Errol on that one. Maybe that's something we can do not at 1 a.m, maybe on a different show.
In my younger days, I used to be able to do 40 push-ups. Now I'm 42 years old.
Yeah.
I can't do 40 anymore, but I could probably do a solid like 20 or 25.
That sounds like a big number, I got to tell you, and we'll probably leave that for a different day. But I look forward to the Ezra Ginsburg push-up challenge still to come at some point on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We'll go to break. We'll talk more about the Jets and the Blues on the other side. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. Shortly before 1 a.m, we're live on a Thursday morning now, the Illegal Curve post-game show. Smash the like button while we head to commercial net break.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling sites instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in 2 unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. This clock has struck 1 a.m. Wanted to make mention that everyone should head to our Instagram page at Illegal Curve. We've partnered up with our friends at Wheatland Hockey to celebrate Game 5 of this playoff series and give one lucky winner the ultimate Wheatland Hockey prize pack valued at over $350. It includes 3 targeted training sessions with our friends at Wheatland Hockey, 1 fall tryout prep session, and exclusive Wheatland Hockey merchandise. You'll hear more about Wheatland Hockey over the next few months here on Illegal Curve. Good friends of ours. They're training the next generation of hockey player, but they're doing it the right way. They're doing it by making them well-rounded human beings. That's their focus first and foremost. It's a youth development program committed to building well-rounded athletes through high-quality skill instruction, leadership training, and a focus on character development. So if you want your hockey player to be a sociopath, that they're not for you. But if you want them to be a good hockey player and a better human being, we encourage you to check out Wheatland Hockey. You can also go, of course, to our Instagram page, at Illegal Curve. Follow us, follow Wheatland Hockey, enter to win that great prize package. Big thanks to our friends at Wheatland Hockey. Final thoughts from you two gentlemen as it is into the wee hours of this morning. Ezzy, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it's as you mentioned, Drew, it's 1:01 in the morning. Drew's about to turn into a pumpkin or eat pumpkin pie, one of the two. Huge win, boys, for the Jets tonight. I mean, that goes without saying, right? Hope Mark Scheifele's doing okay, Dave.
That's it. We're
it's short and sweet from Ezzy. You know, for somebody who's usually quite verbose, he decided to pull the plug a little bit early.
Well, no, we just mentioned it's 1 a.m. We all want to go to look. Dave still has to get to his car. Dave's not going to get home till 1:30 in the morning.
Not only that, I still have to work on the morning papers. Dear God, but no, I mean, look, it was a hell of a good game, and it was a really good. This has been a great series. It really has been phenomenal. So I'm enjoying it. Definitely looking forward to more coverage, of course, on a little site called LegalCurve.com. We'll have full coverage if the Jets are available. If there's media availability, that, of course, will be available on our YouTube channel, as will all the interviews from tonight. They're already up on our YouTube channel, so you can go to that to check that out. And one other Jets note unrelated to the game, 2023 first-rounder Braden Yager is out of the Eastern Conference Finals. His Lethbridge team lost to Medicine Hat 4-0. So he is done. His WHL playoffs are over with Lethbridge. And I will say, and we should make a mention, Colby Barlow, the other 2023 first rounder in the Jets stable boys, he is leading the OHL. Actually, I shouldn't say that because I know London was playing tonight. So I don't know if he's still leading, but he was, as of last night, leading the OHL in points. Not insignificant given how his year was for the most part in Oshawa. He picked it up in the second half. But he is on quite the tear. So he is leading, or he was leading when I checked it last night, the OHL in points. And Jacob Julian, looks like those two are on a collision course because London, they don't lose hockey games, boys. All they do is win. They'd won 11 straight games. And depending on what, breaking news, they won again tonight. So they are in to the OHL finals. They are 12-0 this season in the playoffs right now. And Jacob Julian, the 2023 fifth rounder, he is in the mix. So it looks like it'll be a Barlow versus Julian prospect updates coming to you on a little site called LegalCurve.com.
Well, the Jets might not be 12-0, but they are 3-2 in these playoffs. A beautiful, from the Jets' perspective, victory tonight, 5-3 over the St. Louis Blues to take a 3-2 series lead. Game 6, of course, is on Friday night. We remind everybody, illegalcurve.com and our YouTube channel, those are your destinations for all the latest Winnipeg Jets news, audio, video, everything under the sun related to the Jets and this playoff series is available on either and both of those two sites. We're next in action Friday night. That's when the Jets and the St. Louis Blues are going to have Game 6. It is a 7 o'clock puck drop in the Show Me State. The Jets will look to bring the series home after that, but we will bring you the Illegal Curve post-game show right around somewhere between, let's say, 9:30 and 10 o'clock on Friday night. So if you haven't already done so, even though I'm sure you have, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn your notifications on, because we're going to have a lot of Jets content coming your way on Friday night with the post-game show, Saturday morning with the Illegal Curve hockey show, and then potentially, depending on what happens on Friday, Sunday as well with a pre-game show and a post-game show if necessary. Big thanks to all of you for joining us. Big thanks to all of our sponsors, our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Play Now, Holt Dental. Maybe Oscar Sundquist can go check out Holt Dental if his teeth are still hurting. Boston Pizza, City Place. We were there earlier tonight for the pregame show. We would be there again on Sunday for a pregame show. If there isn't the game on Sunday, that means the Jets are into the second round, which means we'll be there for pregame shows for round number 2. Our friends at Seagram's, the 2025 Rady JCC Sports Dinner. We're proud to be media sponsors. Chris Carter, John Randall, Minnesota Vikings legends. They're going to be in Winnipeg. Tickets available, radyjcc.com. And, of course, again, our friends at Wheatland Hockey. Thanks to so many of you for joining us tonight. pretty late, but it's been a hell of a lot of fun. And the reason we do it is because you're here with us to go for the ride with us as well. For Dave Manouk, who needs to get home sometime soon, for Ezra Ginsburg, who's already at home, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. I need to go to sleep. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Until Friday night at around 9:30, 9:45 p.m., we wish you good night and good luck. And thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game